Hi folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does help when you do that. So today folks, this is going to be a much longer but hopefully very interesting and fun video because we're going to be taking a very close look at this guitar here, my Fidelity Stellarosa, which I bought a few months ago. And I absolutely adore this guitar. There are so many things about it that I really love. The neck in particular, this roasted maple, the dimensions, the way the fret ends are rolled around into semicircles, it's just so comfortable. I've got massive hands and it just fits perfectly. It's one of my favourite necks I've ever played. I love the headstock shape, I love the quirky body, I love the white and gold colour scheme, I love the fact that the wood wasn't completely sanded flat so you can see the grain through the finish. It's quite rustic in that sense. The aging, the way the previous owner wore it away with his arm, the metal pickup surround, there's just so many things about this guitar that I really love. It's a wonderful instrument and it's impeccably made. But that said, there's a couple of things about it that aren't problems as such. They're just the way this guitar has been spec'd out that don't completely align with me and my preferences and my playing style. So the first is as the original owner of this guitar spec'd it out as new, but the second is what that owner then did to it, and that causing a little bit of an issue. So firstly, this started life as a Stellarosa Junior, which meant it just had a single pickup in the middle here. Now, of course, Junior guitars have been around forever, and even having a single pickup in the middle isn't a completely unique idea. Like Gibson 330s back in the 50s had a single P90 in the middle. But what I found is this pickup is always in the way of where I want to play. Because I guess like most players, I take my kind of fleshy palm and anchor it to the saddle so I can palm mute, which means I want to be picking here, exactly where the pickup is. And when I'm playing individual notes on the top strings, I'm forever tapping the pickup and that's coming through on the guitar amplifiers. But almost worse than that, when I want to really hit a big E chord and kind of thwack the low E down onto the fretboard, my plectrum is hitting the edge of the pickup first, and the curvature of the pickup is launching it up in the air like a ski jump, and I'm missing the strings and kind of half-assed hitting it, and it's just in the wrong place for me. Matt said that when you're playing with fingers, it's really nice because you can kind of hold on to it and use it as a bit of support. But when you just hit it like an ape with a pick like I do, it's just in the wrong place for me. But the second thing I've been struggling with is, as you can see here, the previous owner routed this guitar out and put this Jaguar-style pickup in right next to the bridge. Now, on its own, that's not necessarily a problem because the Jag pickup sounds amazing. But the gold foil is the defining sound of this guitar to me. It's kind of warm and woolly in the low end, not in any bad sort of way. It's just a very quirky and unique sounding pickup. It's my favourite sound in this guitar. But by being warm and woolly, the Jaguar pickup is kind of the opposite of that. It's thin and very sort of brilliant in the top end. It's a very glassy sounding pickup. And the balance between the two pickups tonally couldn't really be more different. The Jag pickup is bright and it's also been put right next to the saddles, as close as you can get it next to the bridge plate. So it's even brighter than you would find on a Jaguar. And then, of course, you're trying to balance it with a warm, sort of woolly, dark pickup. And if you dial an amp in to sound amazing with the Jag pickup, which you can absolutely do, you then flick to the gold foil and it sounds like a bucket of mud. You dial the amp in to sound amazing with the gold foil, which you can definitely do. You flip to the Jag pickup and it will rip your eardrums out. It's so piercing in comparison. And I've tried various things to balance them out with adjusting the pickup heights and kind of angling the pickup down away from the treble strings. I've tried putting a resistor onto the hot terminal on the switch of the Jag, which is a very common wiring mod to find in things like HSS Strats, where you want a 500k volume pot for the humbucker, but 250k for the single coils and you've only got one volume pot. You can kind of fool the single coils into thinking they have a 250k volume pot when they don't by having resistors in there. I've tried that, it still hasn't really worked. So both of these pickups sound phenomenal, but together in one instrument, when you want to flick between them, they're just that little bit too far apart tonally to ever really be usable, for me at least. So as I said, the gold foil is my favourite pickup in this guitar, and it got me thinking, would it be better to have this guitar modified to have two gold foils in the bridge and the neck, leaving the middle free for me to pick, and also having two pickups that balance out in a much more even way. So eventually I thought, let's do it. So I ordered a new gold foil pickup from Mark at Mojo to match the Jaguar-style gold foil that's in here currently. I've only opened this once, but I think in here, wrapped up with some stickers, is a new gold foil pickup. But then that left me with the problem of who's actually going to do the work on this guitar. And there's various people out there that modify instruments. And I thought, there isn't really anybody I want to do the work more than Matt at Fidelity, the chap who initially built this guitar. So I dropped Matt an email, and fortunately he came back and said, yeah, that sounds great, let's do it. It's like, sweet. And I said, can I come along and do it in person with you and bring the video camera with me and make a video? He's like, yeah, let's make it happen. So that is exactly what we are going to do. I'm going to drive this guitar over to Matt's workshop in Cambridge, and he is going to modify it for me on camera with a second gold foil pickup in the bridge and the neck, so that it's much more like the light guitar that he loaned me to demo the other week, which had two Filtertron style pickups in. They were in the right places and they balanced beautifully. So having it in a much more usable configuration is going to be fantastic. So I've got the second gold foil here, and Mark actually sent me a couple of video clips of him actually winding this pickup, which I'll put on screen now. So it's very cool to see your pickup actually being hand wound by the guy that makes them. And we're going to mod this Stellarosa to be much more like that light that I demoed the other week, which I think is going to make it so much more usable. And the gold foil pickup is just amazing. I love it so much. So having two of them, one a bit brighter, one a bit darker, is going to be exactly what I want this guitar to be, as well as fitting with the overall sort of quirky aesthetic of the Fidelity range. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to pop this in the car, drive it over to Cambridge, meet with Matt, and we are going to modify this Stellarosa.
Disembodied voice of Matt from Fidelity Guitars here. The marvellous Mr. Joe Perkins is going to be visiting the workshop later in the week to make a few modifications to his Stellarosa Junior. And so ahead of that, I'm going to get a few bits done, particularly making a new scratch plate for him. So at the moment, his guitar has sort of two split pickguards and a slightly different pickup layout. What we're going to do is just route an extra cavity in there so we can fit two P90 size pickups into the guitar, and then have one single pickguard that covers up sort of the existing routing and the extra space that we're going to put in there. So this is how Joe's guitar is going to look. Here's the whole guitar. Here's it zoomed in a little bit. So this is the new pickguard we're going to make. These are the two P90 size gold foils that will be in there with our custom steel surround on both of them. And this rectangle here is where the new cavity routing will go. So the bit we're interested in today is this pickguard. So this is how it looks in CAD. And if I swap over to the CAM software, basically what you see on the screen is what's going to happen in real life. And then this here is just the 3D render. Obviously it doesn't mean too much because it's a 2D cut really. And then we can just simulate what's going to happen there, and shows us it's going to take about 15 minutes. Got a nice fresh piece of metallic gold acrylic all mounted up, stuck to the table to keep it in place. So we're going to fire this up and get cutting. We'll just record the first few minutes because you don't want to listen to 15 minutes of the router going. Okay, so this is the piece we just cut on the CNC. The rest of the edge of it is a little bit scruffy at the moment, and what we want to do now is put on a bevel. So I like to put sort of a round over rather than a 45-degree bevel. Just feels a bit nicer to the touch and looks a bit more premium. I'm going to do this on the router table. I've got a template here that I've attached to the piece too. It's not identical because Joe's new pickguard is a bit of a unique one, but I found one pretty close. Okay, didn't screw it up. Happy days. So there we go. You can just see got a sort of round over, soft edge on there now. I've just been away and sanded the edges a little bit, scraped them where necessary, and then just been on the pedestal buffer quickly just to get everything nice and shiny. Only thing to do is that Joe's guitar has some light relicing on it, and it's going to look a little bit weird if we've got this brand new shiny pickguard on there. So just want to ding it up a bit, and for that I'm going to use Old Faithful, my friend, the Rock. Just want to get a few little knocks in, so around edges where the guitar might feasibly have fallen over or taken a whack or just scraped around a little bit. And then just want to get a little bit of dirt into there, so for that I'm going to be using pigment powder. This one's raw umber, it's the right sort of colour for general grime. Just want to rub that in a little bit, particularly around where, maybe around the controls, where you might get greasy fingers, just to make things look a little bit less shiny, a little bit more worn in. There we go. Any excess stuff. I think we're pretty much done. So there we go, one lightly relicked gold acrylic pickguard ready to go onto Joe's guitar. Yeah, that looked really good.
Give him a fresh set.
Oh, this is your three-way rotary.
Yeah, I quite like it. I've replaced the volume pot in mine because there's a pot called VI pots.
Okay.
They're 10% overvalued, so it's kind of 550k.
Oh, right, okay.
And especially with the thick strings, it just adds that little bit of extra on top to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it a bit brighter.
Oh, that's cool. You got strap locks on here as well.
Yeah, I've put them on, yeah. As soon as you drop your first Les Paul and snap the headstock, you're on strap locks for life. Where did what do you call these bolts? Torques. Yeah, where did that idea come from?
So I've been doing it since right at the start, or near the start. So I obviously did like prototypes where I just used all of the screws and stuff that came with things, and quickly realised that Phillips head screws are just pretty shit sometimes. So they're fine if you're using like a fairly chunky gauge screw, but for things like pickup mounting screws, like I've never seen one that isn't stripped out.
Yeah.
So they tend to, these Torx ones, because they've got like multiple points on them, tend to strip out a bit more slowly, so they'll live up to a bit more abuse. But I like being able to see, I guess that's the colour it was originally. It's kind of just like faded out a little bit over time.
Much more cream, isn't it?
Yeah.
One thing I've never done is shield cavities with paint or anything.
Yeah.
How much difference does it actually make? Because I've never had too many problems.
I think it entirely depends on the scenario that you're playing in. So if you've got a room or a house that's pretty well, the wiring's decent, and you're not sat too close to a monitor a lot of the time, or whatever, like ancient venue,
soaking wet venues
can get problematic pretty quickly. So I think at the start I was of the same mind as like, this doesn't feel like it's making much of a difference. But then the thought process is better safe than sorry. If it's got shielding paint in there, then it's more likely to help. It's not going to hinder anything.
Of course, I really wanted to hang on to the surrounds.
Yeah.
It seems like that's, like whenever I see your guitars, it's quite an iconic
they're kind of
branding, I suppose, in a way.
They're part of they're like one of the features for this model in particular. Yeah, that came from, so the original Stellarosa was Mark at Mojo Pickups, sort of referenced an old Stella Japonica catalogue guitar, and it had like the pickups on it looked like this, but it was all one. That was the whole cover.
They were all
so
in
it's
one.
just like this huge cover on it, like ridiculously oversized, but like really nice and like it was a kind of Art Deco like ornate thing.
It's kind of steampunky.
Yeah, exactly. Size, but that would have been, to replicate that would have been like impractical. Whereas with this, it's just a P90 routing, so you can kind of fit everything into it, but you get the same sort of look.
I think keeping them rather than just having to pick up that makes it look much more like one of your guitars.
No, I'm glad you decided to go with that.
Good. Great. Roasting it, I know obviously it changes the colour. Does it make any difference to the sound?
There's definitely, it's lighter weight for a start, which always helps keep sort of the overall weight of the guitar down, but then it does feel like it's more, so with the plain maple always feels like it's a bit more MIDI, a bit more focused maybe, whereas this feels more neutral, which tends to sort of translate as feeling a little bit brighter area. It just lets the rest of the guitar kind of shake and sing a bit, and it's nice and resonant.
It does feel very alive, this guitar.
I've
never really been into like the sort of the super heavy relic guitars.
Yeah.
Really, you know,
like drag behind a car.
yeah, and Fender do them with it. It's always like blue over sunburst. And okay, fine, those guitars are out there like the originals, but
yeah.
But it's tasteful.
There's
another bit of relic in there. Yeah, it's a tasteful relic job, and it works. And this, I know this bit's kind of real from the guitar before, but it just looks like an old guitar.
No, thanks.
It's
yeah,
great.
it means a lot. I mean, there's a lot of time goes into that stuff of trying to
Get my catcher's mitts
save
on.
those frets. Yeah. Trying to make it look reasonably authentic, like it could have happened. It's just been played. I think we'll just snip these and tidy it up after.
My soldering's never the tidiest, so you know it works, and that's enough.
No one's going to see. I wouldn't worry. Well, they are.
Well, yeah, I was going to say we can zoom in. The other thing I wanted to ask about was the fret ends.
Yeah.
Where they're different. I can't really put my finger on what's different. It's almost like it's not round just from the edges. It's the whole.
Yeah. So they're semi-hemispherical. So it's basically like a quarter of a globe, if you imagine that.
Yeah.
And I've got Jamie to thank for that actually, because I've got a lot better at fret ends since I've been working in proximity to him, because he's very good at them.
Yeah.
So this one's got a soft side there, so you can get on the angle. This one's got soft sides there, but only cuts on this side, so you can round it that way. This one doesn't cut on the flats, but only cuts on the sides, so you can come at it really, so like get right around the side of the fret end, and then you go back along with a scalpel to clean any swarf out, and then after that it's polishing up through the grits from like 400, 600, 800, 1000, 2000, 3000 grit wire wall, and then after the oil finish has been polished, you then take it onto the buffer as well. So it's just a lot of manual effort for something that looks so small, but it's the only bit of the guitar that you like really touch. So it means it's important to spend a bit of time on that.
They're super comfortable.
When you're doing that stage on a batch of builds and you get to Fretwork day, then you've got like 10 necks to go through.
I can imagine.
So that's like, however many, 2 times 22, or 2 times, yeah. So you've got 40 odds to do on each neck, and you do that 10 times. It's
the skill involved in a good fret job is
just practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm still learning, definitely. You can always get better at it.
The other thing, I'm guessing this is the same as the one you sent me the other week. They're not wood screws. There's inserts in there. Yeah. Like in the back of the neck, so you don't have to worry about
like stripping out the wood, especially with like the roasted maple, because it can be, as much as like it makes for an amazing neck, it can be fairly fragile because it can get a bit brittle. So if you've got wood screws going in there a lot, especially like heavy gauge ones that you normally use, then and the thing is, if it takes a whack, you can see it's happened a little bit here, and then actually it's fine that they're like less than a mil lifted out, but if it takes a hit, what should happen is that the receivers for the bolts pull out rather than the wood break, so it's a much easier repair. They're not supposed to be guitars that you can't touch or mod or whatever, like even though they're like custom and fairly premium. I know what guitarists are like. I'm a guitarist. I just want to mess around with stuff.
So the amount of times I've bought a new guitar and the first thing I do is take it to bits. It's like, what? Change that. It's just enjoy it as an instrument, but I can't. I don't let myself enjoy it as an instrument. I've got to tweak.
That's the hobby, isn't it?
It's a curse.
That's part of what it is. Like, that's why. It's part of why I enjoy guitar so much. Like, it's not just about playing it. It's about modding it and fiddling around with it, and pedals and all the other stuff.
Make it your own. Like no two players are the same, are they?
No, exactly. There we go.
That is
good to go.
Look.
Should look cool.
So cool.
Right, let's get it on the CNC. Straight. So there you go. So that'd be like the basic body run for Stellarosa Light. Just use the CNC to like get the key parts down, and then go off and do the other bits with other tools.
And there's some sawdust.
Job done. secret, but we've just we found the chamber of secrets. So I don't normally use the tape with the paint, but I think as long as you get a good quality one and you put it on thick enough, then you're generally okay.
Yeah.
It's not how to use your nice chisels. Get the stuff off before I paint over the top, otherwise it won't adhere properly.
Look how thin those are as well.
What's that? I know, yeah, it's strange, isn't
there.
it? You're like, how do you get any sort of
So thin.
coil in there? But yeah.
Time to shield.
So, you get a new paint job accidentally.
Yes. Hey, it's now
You
black.
did want it matte black, didn't you?
Yeah, matte black and like a chalkboard, that'd be great. I think it's the first time I really appreciated just how dark the wood is as well on the body.
Yeah, it's quite, so you get different batches will be roasted a bit differently.
Yeah.
It's never super consistent from one batch or one supplier to the next. This is probably a slightly darker one. This may be because it's an older one, this might still be roasted swamp ash, but I started to use more English ash recently where possible, just because it's more abundant and more sustainable. But that tends to be heavier, so you kind of have to roast it, otherwise it makes for a really heavy guitar. I was going to use that pickup sound a bit more as well. This stuff can take a while to go off anyway, so it might be that over sort of days or weeks it starts to get a bit more rusty looking, but I think that's just a sweat thing again.
There you go.
But it looks a little bit more gnarly. What I might do is just take the other one back. Okay, not far off. This one's still a bit gnarlier, but I think over time they'll balance out a bit. Uh, 5.6.
5.6 for the neck.
7.5.
Oh,
there you go.
wow.
Pokey. It's not a bad shout because of the style here where it's so thin. We're not going to be able to get it jacked up like super high, so having a bit more
Yeah, definitely.
go is probably a good idea.
I really like the white and the gold. I think it looks really good. And when we're looking at Pickguard materials, like the tortoiseshell wallop, the darker was nice, but I just like the...
I think with the taut it works better potentially when you've got some like taut binding and stuff as well, so kind of the whole colour scheme is around the tortoiseshell thing. No, I like that colour as well. With I think particularly with the one piece roasted maple neck with like the lighter coloured brown board, I think potentially the tortoiseshell goes better with the dark kind of wengy fretboard.
Yeah. So these are all modified as well, the bridges and
so that's all custom, and so get those made, use a few different CNC shops. That hasn't really changed since that year one, so designed that fairly early doors. I kind of just wanted to I saw a lot of guitars that I really loved from like smaller builders and stuff, but they all had like off the shelf like hardware on them afterwards. Like, it's a shame that like a Fender has Fender hardware and then Gibson has Gibson hardware and whatever. So I just wanted to have as much of my own hardware as possible. You can't do it with everything. So that's where the idea for the bridge came from. It's just to give it's milled from sort of billet aluminium block, and I just feel like it doesn't inhibit too much going on. It's not heavy. It's
really lightweight. I couldn't believe when we just took it off.
There's not much to it. And then just a bit more solidity at sides as well to stop, because I always find with telly one of the things that can happen is that the saddle sort of slide sideways as you play or as you bend. So just wanted to have a bit more solid there to stop that from happening.
How do you do the inlays on here and the little wedges?
So that's on the CNC as well. So where we were using a big 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch bit to do this cavity, that'd be with a 0.6mm bit for the headstock logos. So let's just cut that, clamp it once the neck's pretty much done, clamp it to the CNC, route that out, and then it's filled in with like a clay. So it's called epoxy sculpt, but you basically mix the colour and the hardener into like a ball, so it's a consistent colour, spread it all in there, leave it overnight, sand it back, and then it's done. So it was January 2017.
Okay.
So what's that, 6.5 years,
roughly,
something like that.
Something like that.
It came back. I had a year before that, whereas in my previous career was in marketing for a decade.
Oh wow, okay.
Just needed a change, needed to do something more tangible that made me happy.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so landed on that, and gave yourself quite a short deadline to become confident enough at it to make it stick. Cool. We'll tweak
Amazing.
those when we get there.
Yep.
Back on. Just
about dry.
yeah. We'll speed up the process.
Love the curved edges on that.
Oh, thanks.
So comfortable.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of extra effort, but it just looks way better.
It's like, it reminds me on Photoshop, if you put like an emboss filter on it, it kind of makes it look 3D. It really looks nice, doesn't it?
But it annoys me, so, like you go to a guitar shop and you look at, like pick up anything off the wall, even the more expensive stuff generally, and then you take a really close look at the scratch plate and you can always see like the chatter marks from the laser or from the whatever, and it's just like, oh, come on. Just trying to see, make sure it's going to fit. I'm just going to temporarily screw everything back in just so I can get it all lined up. The screw's going to be slightly different place. Just normally the way.
I can't believe how much difference the sort of beveling makes to the look of it.
Yeah,
it looks so cool.
I didn't used to do it, and I look back at guitars that from like a few years ago now, and I'm just like,
it makes the whole thing pop.
Yeah, especially on these metallic ones where it just kind of catches the light.
It just really brings it out. It's just so much more of a feature.
You can't buy a self-tapping screw like you pick up mounting screw like these fellas.
Yes.
With the Torx in the right length, so you use machine bolts and then sharpen them to a point. Yeah, I don't know what looks best. I think potentially just both.
Yeah, I think
that way up looks best.
Yeah, let's go with that. Success.
See that catch?
I do. It's very impressive. The other thing I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Stellarosa or Stellarosa?
I've
heard both used, so
I would say Stellarosa, but
Stellarosa. Okay.
I have an accent that has been formed by many different places. This stuff's really good. It's the only one I've found that actually works.
I was just going to say, it's one of those conversations you can only have with fellow guitarists. What polish do you use? You can't ask anybody else that question without sounding absolutely nuts.
The sad thing is, this is the second time this week I've had this conversation with someone.
Awesome. there we are, folks. And firstly, a huge thanks to Matt at Fidelity, not just for doing an incredible job on this guitar, but also for letting me go over there and film with him and spend a day with him and probably bug him asking lots of really annoying questions while he was trying to focus. It was just such a nice day chatting about guitar polish and all the nerdy stuff we can't talk about with anybody else. And not only does the end result look incredible, it sounds wonderful too. And the thing I love most about it is these gold foils sound unique. They have their own thing going on. They don't sound like a Tele or a PAF or anything like that. The bridge gold foil has a sort of almost like a nasally out of phase quack to it, a bit like you get in like a middle position on a Tele. And the low end in the neck pickup is just huge and loose and fuzzy in all the right ways, just with that very brief bit of rhythm playing I just did into a cranked JTM 45. On the neck pickup, the low end is super saturated. It just feels lovely to play. So I'm absolutely blown away by the end result, and as I said, I cannot thank Matt enough for all the hours he put in on this instrument. So please do go and check out Fidelity guitars if you get a chance, folks. I'll put a link in the description box underneath. And yeah, it's just a wonderful instrument. You're going to be seeing a lot more of this on the channel going forwards now. So thank you ever so much for watching, folks. A longer video, but hopefully it was an interesting one. Please do comment underneath and let me know your thoughts. I love hearing from you guys on all this sort of stuff. And I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.